Hey everyone, Alodar here. Today I've got a very interesting and possibly very exciting video to share with you. This video pertains to how far along developers are in recreating classic World of Warcraft. Now, in order to tell you this video, I've got to give you a little bit of a backdrop into how this occurred. I was planning on creating another video for you today, and then suddenly this happened last night. And essentially what happened is I was streaming the demo. As you know, the demo shut down this morning at 10:15 a.m. We've all been playing the demo for the last week and enjoying every minute that I could. I've been enjoying every minute that I could get onto it. Last night, I decided for the last night of the demo, there wasn't really anything I could do. I could create another character if I wanted to, but I already had 4, and they were all pretty much fully geared as you could get in the Barrens up until level 19. And there wasn't really much else for me to do except for run around and chat with people in my Twitch chat. So I went down to the edge of Thousand Needles to show people that you could actually peer over the edge and look down to the bottom of the of Thousand Needles, and there was no water. And everybody in my Twitch chat, we just kind of reminisced about we missed these zones, and it's a shame that they got rid of all the quests and stuff that were in there. So eventually I got too close to the edge and it teleported me back to the crossroads. For those of you that didn't play the demo, it's kind of a feature where if you try to go across the zone, it just teleports you back to an inn that you've got your Hearthstone set to. So I got teleported back to the crossroads, and I wasn't going to run all the way back down there again. We'd already seen the floor of Thousand Needles. So I decided I hadn't seen Orgrimmar yet for some reason, and everybody that watches my stream, everybody that watches my videos knows how excited I am to finally step foot into old Orgrimmar again for the first time in many, many years on an authentic Blizzard server. So I decided to start heading up to the shoreline between Durotar and the Barrens, and I'm looking off into the distance to see if I can see the front gates. You can barely make them out, and I was like, it looks like classic, but I'm not positive. So somebody in stream said, well, why don't you go up to the to the back gates and see what you can see in there. So I go into where the back gates are, and there's that bridge that goes over the river, and I'm trying to peer in through the back gate, but it's blocked mostly by the bridge, and I can't really see much. I think I can see a building in the back, but you can't really see its design very well. So I was like, I can't really see. I'm going to see if there's a higher vantage point, and I'm going to see if I can go up onto the hills and get a better view. And somebody in chat suggests, why don't you roll a hunter and use Eagle Eye? And I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, why didn't I think of that? So for those of you that don't know what Eagle Eye is, it's a talent that hunters have where it allows you to look way off into the distance as though you were standing there and kind of look around. So I did that. I rolled up a hunter, immediately ran him up there, and then used Eagle Eye to perch myself up on top of the cliffs that were above the back entrance of Orgrimmar. And sure as day, like, you could see right into the very back end of Orgrimmar where the back gate is, and you could see the buildings, and it was pretty clear that they were classic style buildings. And we were all like, it was like we were cheering in Twitch. We were all like so excited because it was obvious that Orgrimmar was the old Orgrimmar, and they've already updated this, and it meant that the rest of the city was probably done as well. And it was a shame that we couldn't have experienced that, because everybody I talked to, everybody wanted to go into old Orgrimmar or into old Stormwind or whatever and actually see it again for the first time in years. So we got excited about that, but there wasn't really much else I could see from that vantage point. So eventually I gave up, and there wasn't much left for me to do. And then somebody sent me a message on Discord and said, hey, I've been able to get into Orgrimmar. And I was like, what? And they sent me a picture, and it was of him, presumably of him, it was of him, standing on top of the Orgrimmar bank. And it was Orgrimmar like you remember it, but with no people in it, no NPCs, no nothing. And I was looking at this picture going, how do I know this is legit? Like, how do I actually know? So I actually said to him, how do I know this is real? And he said, look at the text, or look at the chat. And I looked at the chat, and it was basically the same chat that I had, like scrolled back a little bit. So it was obvious that he was in the demo. which blew me away. And suddenly I got excited and I was like, dude, can you like run around? Can you take a video of you running around in Orgrimmar and just kind of like going through all the areas, the buildings, try to get into the instance if you can? And he was like, yeah, sure, no problem. And then I made a request. I said, please make sure that you open up your graphic settings and show that there's the classic, switch to classic button that's there, so people can see that you're in old Orgrimmar, but it's with the demo menu, just as proof that this was actually legit. So he said, yeah, sure, no problem. So he did that, and there was another guy that was in my Twitch chat that knew him and was also basically doing the same thing. He'd been told how to do this, and so he was running sort of in there, but then he decided that he was going to go down to Thousand Needles into Daenerys. And then somebody said, well, why don't you go to the gates of AQ? See if they're open or closed. So he's like, okay, that gives me something to do for the next little while. That's a long run. So he starts running across the Barrens, and he notices after running for a few minutes that there's no mobs. There's no mobs, there's no NPCs, no nothing. And we couldn't figure out what was wrong because I was actually partied with him, and like we couldn't see each other. We couldn't, like, I could see the mobs, but he couldn't see them. And then a light kind of went off in my head, and I'm like, maybe Orgrimmar is done. Maybe all the NPCs are actually there, but whatever they've done to their characters, they've glitched their characters somehow so that they can't see mobs. And when I was talking about this on stream, there's another person in stream that said, essentially what's happened is the server is not communicating with the client now for some reason. The server thinks that their characters are still in the Barrens where their characters were glitched. Meanwhile, their client's allowing them to run off basically wherever they wanted to go. And that kind of like, that's way above what I understand, but I was like, okay, sure. And so this guy starts to head down towards AQ to basically see if the gates are open. He's got a long run ahead of him. But he starts going and he mentions, I don't see any mobs or any NPCs the entire way down. The other guy that was running around Orgrimmar, he's finished running around, and he asks where I'd like him to go. And I said, you know what? One of my favorite classic zones is when suddenly he told in Twitch chat that he had lost connection. He logged back in and then told us again in Twitch chat, shoot, I'm back in the Barrens. So now we understand sort of the technicalities of it. The server thought he was still in the Barrens, so when he logged back in, he appeared in the Barrens. And it wasn't soon after that the guy that was running down through the Barrens and into Daenerys to go to AQ, he was in Discord with me actually, and he was updating me in Discord exactly where he was. And he got into the entranceway of Ungoro Crater and was telling me about it. And he was like, wow, this looks amazing. And then suddenly I was like, oh, damn. And I'm like, what? He's like, I got disconnected. And I'm like, oh, man, that's a long run. Like, you're going to try again? And he's like, yeah, I'll try again. And we were sitting there thinking about it and trying to determine why these guys had gotten logged out. And somebody in chat said, well, it's because the server doesn't recognize that their characters are moving. So after half an hour, the server's thinking, okay, well, they're AFK, so it logs the person out. So immediately it drops them. No matter where their client thinks they are in game, the server's thinking, nope, they haven't moved. They're AFK, kick them out. So that's essentially what happened to both of them. Now, they knew how to basically do this, and, you know, I wasn't going to attempt it because, one, I'm streaming. Like, that would have been ludicrous, but these other guys were doing it, and I wasn't going to come out with this video until today anyways, and there was going to be no way that somebody could watch this video and then go play the demo and be able to recreate the events because the demo's over and it's done. So I wasn't really too worried about that. They decided to log in, and then they went over to the Eastern Kingdoms. They ran through Stormwind, got video of that for me, and then the other guy ran over to all the way from Stormwind, all the way through Red Ridge Mountains, and then all the way up to Blackrock Mountain. And these video clips that I'm showing you, you can look around at all the zones that they've gone through, and they look amazing. They look complete. And he got all the way into Blackrock Mountain, and you can, like, he's running into the Blackrock Mountain, and you can see him peering down to the bottom where the lava is. and looking around, and it looks just amazing. It looks exactly like it used to look back in original retail. And it was pretty evident that the zones all across have already been done. Like as far as we can tell, because they ran a huge chunk of the zones that over the course of 2 hours, they ran a huge chunk of the zones that are in the game, and they all looked done. And the only thing that they each said was missing were the NPCs and the mobs. And as soon as they got teleported back and then logged off and then logged back in, they could see the mobs. I'm pretty positive that the mobs and the NPCs are not there because the server's not telling the client that they're there, because they're not communicating. So I think honestly that these zones for the most part are done, as far as, you know, cosmetics, stuff like that. The cosmetic stuff I think is already done. So I think as far as the development of the game goes, they may be a lot further along. Like if you can see these videos, or you are watching these videos where these guys are running around in these zones, and if it wasn't for the fact that the mobs are missing and stuff like that, it looks exactly like classic retail World of Warcraft. It looks absolutely amazing, and it's so exciting to see that they've gotten this far so far. And you can even see in the one clip where the guy tries to go into the instance and he didn't get in, and we just assumed, okay, well, at that time we didn't put two and two together that it was because the server and the client weren't talking. The reason he couldn't get into the instance, well, one, maybe it wasn't actually there, but more likely is two, the server doesn't realize that he's actually at the instance trying to get in. The server actually thought he was still at the Barrens, so that's why it wasn't letting him in. So anyways, I just wanted to show you guys these clips to hopefully you find these clips as exciting as I did. When they started sending me these clips to my email, I started looking through them and I was like, oh my, these are absolutely amazing, like absolutely amazing. And it makes me really believe that maybe there's a beta very, very soon, like right around the corner, possibly January maybe. I don't know if it would be that soon, but I was always assuming that if it was going to be a summer launch, it was probably going to be late summer, like August, because that's when Blizzard does things, right? And if we got a beta, it would be maybe 2 months in advance, so maybe we're getting a beta in June. But based on these clips and everything that they were able to see, it looks like it's a lot further along than we thought. Maybe there's a beta maybe there's an alpha in January, a beta in February, March, and then maybe the game launches in June, like at the latest. Like, I don't know, it just seems really exciting to me. So I'm hoping that you guys enjoyed these clips. If you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And if you ever want to talk to me about any of my videos, you can either leave a comment down below, or you can always come over to my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Alodar. I'll leave the link down below, and you can come talk to me about Classic World of Warcraft whenever you want. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and have a good day.